Hello. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to those who are watching us via live stream. Welcome to the Temple of New African Thought, TNAT. This Sunday, we're in another, what I call holistic healing circle.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll begin today as we normally do with libations. And I'll say that the purpose of libations in our African-centered way is a constant reminder and a reaffirmation and a forever conscious connection to and with our ancestors, on whose back we all of this time draw our wisdom, understanding, knowledge, spirituality, balance, strength, resilience, etc. across the board. Pardon me. And one more thing I want to say about libations and honoring the ancestors, which I came across watching nature and traditions of our people on the continent, is this one. No path can be walked without the blessings of those who walked before. That was by the Zulu. Another one from a different, totally diverse culture, different parts of the world. This is from the Mayans. For the Mayans, balance was essential. So once again, I ask that we implore those ancestors of old who have made it possible for us today to even be in this circle. And after we mention those, we'll say Ashe. Brother Brian will, Brother Parrish will assist with pouring water on the plant. Okay, we can go with the ancestors of old, please. Ashe. Malcolm X.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Sojourner Truth.
Ashe.
Frederick Douglass.
Ashe. Ashe. Ashe.
W.E.D. Du Bois.
Ashe.
Marcus.
Ashe.
Marcus Garvey.
Ashe. Queen Mother Moore. Ashe.
Langston Hughes.
Ashe. Ashe. Okay. Now we're gonna reach out to those individuals, our ancestors that are in our personal lives, within our own field of influence, this, that, and the other. So your personal family, those that touch your life directly or indirectly. Warner Hill, Ashe. 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 Ashe.
Lena and Leonard White.
Ashe. Ashe.
Wesley White.
Ashe. Sheikh Kabir Abdul-Manan. Ashe.
Franklin White.
Ashe.
Robbie White.
Ashe. 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 Well, we want to thank you on that. Next, we want to send out blessings for the yet unborn, who one day will be looking to us as their ancestors. So we can just take a moment in silence for the yet unborn. Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful.
Next, we come to the sharing part. Is there anyone that would like to share a song, poem, experience, word, anything like that?
Yes, I would like to start us out with a quick drum call. Continue with what's playing. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Farr. Anyone else would like to share? Come on, wake up. We had all this enthusiasm before when Brother Brian, he was in the mood.
Look, the enthusiasm's still there. I like to go and spread it out. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? Spread it out. It ain't my show. It's the yeah. Alan Robertson.
Well, I can say on Thursday past, I was invited to go to the Universal Soul Circus on behalf of the National Black Union newspaper, whom I'm a contributing author and editor in. I'm sorry, and it was a nice break, it was a nice break all the way around. You know, I was able to take my mind off of virtually everything, but to see what the mind and the body can do by those performers says a lot. I mean, I was just amazed. It was even this one sister. You be seeing the essences, right? This sister turned her head like that. I mean, sir, she turned it. And I mean, I was really amazed. But once again, what I got from that overall was a genuine break. And the other thing is what the mind and the body can do if you put forth the effort. Anybody else like to share?
We're just sharing in general.
We're at the sharing part.
Poems, songs.
Anybody else like to share?
I would like to share a song, a musical number, if I may. And feel free to contribute or join, as I think music is best when it's done collectively. I appreciate everybody's patience as I get my stuff together. If you don't worry about where I've been or who I saw, what club I went to with my homies, baby, don't worry, you know that you got me. If you don't worry about when I've been on who I saw, what club I went to with my baby. Don't worry, you know. Somebody told me that this planet was small. We used to live in the same building on the same floor and never met before until I'm overseas on tour and met this Ethiopian queen from Philly taking classes abroad. She studying film, that's photo flash, focus recall. Said she saw my poet Paris at least from mom. That I stepped off the stage and took a piece of her heart. Yo, I stepped off the stage and took a she knew from the start that things fall apart, intend to shatter. She like, that ish don't matter. When I get home, get at her, do let her fall. Whatever, let's link, let's get together. What you think not? Think they thought went home and forgot. Time passing like Philly. She up in my spot, telling me the things I'm telling her is making her hot. Now she's in my word, constantly like hop. Now she in my world like hip hop and keep telling me. If you don't worry about when I've been on who I saw, what club I went to with my baby. Don't worry, you know that you got me. Not the type to always catching the fly. Somebody be out at the height of the night. She like another lonely night. See, like I'm on the side, you only loving your mind. Yo, I gotta keep that paper to get tied. Yo, I need some sort of love in my life. You dig me? Now politics with my sister. She said she know this ball player if you think I'm pretty. Side, you playing boo. You know it's necessary from playing boo with cats. That you think I don't be kept that saying boo. And I'm out there in the world, I'm still your girl. Don't have the time for life's thrills. So when you sitting on stage with me when you rhyme, don't be listening to your homies, they be leaving you blind. What you mean? I could trust you if I came for real. Telling me, if you don't worry about where I've been on who I saw, what club I went to with my homie, baby, don't worry, you know that you got me. If you don't worry about where I've been on who I saw, what club I went to with my homie, baby, don't worry, you know that you got me. Thank you.
Is there anyone else would like to share? Okay. Well, moving right along. Hello. Those of us that are in the NGEA transformational process were asked to search at least one Pan-African or African-centered accomplishment to share today. And with that, if possible, if you can see how that impacts us today. So is there anyone from the NGEA circle that would like to share?
I like to share. This one, it feels like I kind of cheated, but I wanted to do it because I just wanted to do it. But this group here, Mr. Ausar, what he has created for us personally and how we currently are benefiting from it, I see this as a major accomplishment for the community and for Pan-Africanism. There's a lot of services that are offered here. There are a lot of there's businesses within businesses here. So it's not just taking care of you holistically, but teaching you how to defend yourself. There's food, healthy food that's being served here. And then there are, I would like to say, several events that take place here at this center that would just add to your character. For example, like they have a group here that teaches you how to dance. I was a participant of that group for a short period of time, and it's just something I've never experienced, something new that I was excited to really do because I've never really experienced that growing up here in Baltimore. So the outside influences that the center also offers by offering opportunities to other individuals to bring their skill sets here to just further expand and expound on giving back to us, filling our cup culturally is something that I see that's extremely beneficial. So that's just what I kind of took from it.
Ready now.
I think what I find, the question that was asked, what do we find in Pan-Africanism from the past that we can relate to today? And I thought of the president of Namibia. I think her name is pronounced President Nandi Nawathet. And I want to focus on opening our mouths, because if we don't speak about the injustices that were done to us and then get solutions from those injustices, we'll just continue the same cycle. So what she did was what a lot of us here did in terms of working on reparations, because between 1904 and 1908, over 80% of the Harare population was slaughtered by the Germans, and over 50% of the, I forget the ethnic group, 50% were slaughtered. So they got the apologize that they needed, but they want the compensation. And we will never get anything if we keep our mouths silent. So to me, that is a form of Pan-Africanism, to open your mouth and remind them of what they did or what their ancestors did and demand recompense for ourselves.
Okay, so we've heard opening our mouths, be heard, be seen. We've heard that TNAT and what's offered here is a benefit and a positive for us. Is there anyone else who'd like to share?
Yeah, greetings, everyone. I guess I see this as a Pan-African movement. My wife's family is from the Caribbean. I venture there quite often. And her brother is into politics in the Bahamas. So I see a lot of, I hear a lot of things that go on in the Bahamas as it pertains to the Caribbean as a whole. And I just think that I just wanted to say, I noticed, I believe it's the president of Barbados. I can't think of her name at the time, but what's her name? I can't. Yeah, it'll come to me. But her goal, her idea of bringing the Caribbean together, and I believe everything is called CARICOM, if I'm not mistaken, and bringing everyone together economically, to be able to communicate with each other, share goods with each other, share wealth with each other, share knowledge with each other, to take on that spirit of community that is ancient, indigenous spirit. So I believe that, I've been kind of following that, and I believe it's like a great thing that is impacting not just the Caribbean world, but the diasporan world as well, as a whole.
Thank you, bro. Anybody else?
Yeah, so when I think of Pan-Africanism, I mainly think, I think largely of Marcus Garvey, who was originally from Jamaica. and was very influential in a variety of ways worldwide in terms of Pan-Africanism. I believe he created the red, black, and green Pan-African flag, along with he was so serious about Back to Africa movement. I think he created a cruise line. And then regardless of the reasons why the cruise line didn't work, there were some reasons. I think it was infiltrated from the inside, but like he also thought very highly of our people enough that he really presented us to the world with a lot of pomp and circumstance, a lot of like grandeur. Like he used to wear suits that looked like he was a military officer. I mean, he was creating a lot of that, but he knew that in order to be taken seriously to some extent, you have to be presenting yourself seriously to some extent. So he presented Black folk, especially the people who were high up in his camp, with a level of royalty or grandeur that I think warranted a lot of like visual. You know, that's why you see him and he looks like he's a general, which I think is a very powerful thing, because at that time it was very taboo. He also had a newspaper that was worldwide, and I think his version of Pan-Africanism then spawned into a lot of different other facets of Pan-Africanism, including like Rastafarianism, and then also I think even Malcolm X's parents were Garveyites, and you know, at that same time W.E.B. Du Bois had like different views on Pan-Africanism and how we need to move, where Marcus Garvey was very solid in the foundation that he wanted us to go back to Africa and you know, find our own freedom in our own land and live with a level of like our own sovereignty. And I think of him when I think of Pan-Africanism. Yeah.
We are celebrating his birthday today. He would be 138 if he was still on the planet. And I think what impresses me most about Garvey was he had the ability to bring Black people from around the world together, because the UNI is still very active in the Caribbean, in Africa, and here, and even in some places of South America. So he showed us what we could do when we unite. He showed us when there's a visionary that's respected and people are able to submit to that, the world is ours. And I think what has happened on this side is that we've had so many people to create divisiveness and not really see the bigger picture. But he shows us that it can be done if we choose to submit to the process.
I see.
Is that it?
Call him Mr. Matter of Fact.
Well,
But can I give one more example of Pan-Africanism?
sure.
I was torn between the two because I like the two, but this was the other one that I had in the back of my mind, the Harlem Renaissance, and that whole movement, and specifically like the poets and musicians and writers like Langston Hughes. And when I was doing research to kind of think through what I wanted to talk about, I ran across this poem that I haven't read since Morgan, and I really love it. And I just wanted to share it if it's okay. If it's okay. It's The Negro Speaks of Rivers.
Oh no, you good, brother. They said
Okay.
they said you had the floor.
Okay. I've known of rivers. I've known of rivers ancient in the world and older than the flow of human body, blood in human vessels. My soul has grown deep like these rivers. I bathed in Euphrates when dawns were young. I built my hut near the Congo and lulled me to sleep. I looked upon the Nile and raised the pyramids above it. I heard the singing of the Mississippi while Abe Lincoln went down to New Orleans, and I've seen the muddy bosom turn all golden in the sunset. I've known of rivers, ancient, dusky rivers. My soul has grown deep like these rivers. And I just really like that poem because like that kind of is how I think of Pan-Africanism, because he's not just speaking about like the Congo or Africa, but he's also talking about in America and like the evolution. And he's at that time from ancient to modern, and it's like all Black society. It's not specific to anyone, and it's like united in the sense of like the different cultures, as we were talking about cultures last week. So I really like that poem. Did he?
Well, I chose Malcolm X. Yes, Malcolm X can be considered a Pan-Africanist. He strongly advocated for unity and the liberation of our people of African descent all over the world, and his views evolved to encompass a more international perspective on Black liberation. He actively sought solidarity with anti-colonial movements in Africa and believed that the struggle of African Americans were intrinsically linked to those of Africans on the continent. Here's why. This is what I got from a book, but then I have my own thoughts. It's not going to be too long. Here's why. International solidarity. Malcolm X's engagements with leaders of newly independent African nations and his appeals to the Organization of African Unity, the OAU, demonstrates his commitment to Pan-Africanism. Emphasis on African identity. He consistently highlighted the importance of reclaiming African heritage and culture for African Americans, viewing this as a crucial step in their liberation and our liberation. He was critical of Western imperialism. Malcolm X's critique of Western imperialism and colonialism, coupled with his support for liberation movements in Africa and other parts of the world, aligns with Pan-Africanist ideas. Organization of African American Unity, the OAAU. The formation of the OAAU, which aimed to unite people of African descent worldwide, was a concrete manifestation of his Pan-Africanist vision. By any means necessary. His famous declaration that African people should pursue their liberation by any means necessary reflected a willingness to challenge power structures and systems that perpetuate oppression, a sentiment shared by many Pan-Africans. And lastly on this, as has been cited previously, connection to Marcus Garvey. Malcolm X's family had strong ties to the Black nationalist and Pan-Africanist ideology of Marcus Garvey, which influenced his own worldview. While his views evolved throughout his life, and he initially focused on Black nationalism within the United States, Malcolm X later embraced the Pan-Africanism, solidified his place as a significant figure in the Pan-African movement. Okay, now this is what I actually wrote. The above cited encapsulates why I chose our ancestor and brother, Malcolm X, for he embodied both points of the question before us. Initially, it was through and by the lens of Islam that I primarily viewed our shining Black friend. And though recognizing his contributions to our people and culture as a whole, it wasn't until this, our engineered transformational right, that I am now beginning to perceive and appreciate him and others of his hue from another vantage point with definition, added clarity, and understanding. And thus, he's a credit and a beacon of light and a beacon and a ray of light and hope to and for our culture and melanated family, even today. For his life, example, and experience is still one to be emulated, talked, and discussed about, and with his name being a household name, and not just in the United States, but worldwide. Malcolm X's impact and influence, especially as it relates to this, our day and time, cannot be understated, nor overstated, and neither can he be denied, grossed over, nor negated in the least, for his image is ingrained in the minds of our people. Lastly, the autobiography of Malcolm X was the very first book that I ever bought and read in just 2 days. I was in the 3rd grade the second time. Be that as it may. However, without a doubt of a shadow, he has had a definite impact and influence in and on my worldview, perspective, and perception. May the spirit and the fire of our ancestors live on in another Malcolm X of today. Ashe.
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 So with no further ado, I would like to introduce Minister Dr. Winkler.
Introduced to some blessings, family. All right. Yeah. May I ask my elders for permission to speak? I say. The elders be wanting to take it back sometimes. Why did we let him? Because the ancestors told y'all it was okay. You know what I mean? So greetings. Great Garvey Day. Happy Garvey Day. Revolutionary Garvey Day. We big up our ancestor Marcus Garvey on this day, on his Earth Day. I had the privilege and the honor to go out to the Marcus Garvey Day, yesterday, yeah. The Dr. Baba Charlie Duggar puts on yearly for, I guess, forever. And I had the privilege to see Brother Carlos come through, styling and profiling, all those things. I guess I'm trying to figure out how I want to start this, how I want to frame this conversation. Because I understand that there's a lot of people that's going to tune in outside of this room because of this particular discussion. I mean, when I say a lot, within context. And there's a war going on. There's a serious war going on. And the war that's going on is the war for our minds. We understand there's physiological war going on, but often we underestimate the war that is going on for our minds, the war of culture, all the things that Baba Nelly Fuller spoke about, the tactics. It's unequivocally clear that Pan-Africanism has etched in its contributions to history. It's historical accurate. I was talking to some people and I said, it's getting dirty out there. This war is even coming into our own rooms, those of us who ought to know better. But you understand, when you're at war, you get weak. You get tired. You begin to become a bit delusional. So again, hence, the war is on our mind and for our minds. Not only from outsiders, but agents of the outsiders, whether they realize it or not, because we've been weakened intellectually, spiritually, mentally, because we've grown heavy and fatigued. We're tired. We just want to win. And when you just want to win, you will compromise. But compromise in a way that you join what people would deem the enemy. Because it's easier, you want to be on the winning team. And sometimes you sell your soul to do so. So we have to be strong in how we keep this thing up. I was telling some people yesterday, I think I started off saying that the war is so crazy that although they will not say this, that some of these lettered groups, I won't name them today. I'm talking about inside of our communities who coming up with these new letters. I understand why you come up with the new letters. I get it. But if you were doing that from a pure place, I wouldn't have a problem with it. Because the trickery to say that you're not being divisive is gaslight material. And what do I mean by that? I mean you throw stones and then turn your back and act like you didn't throw it. You act like the stone that you throw did not imprint certain messages within the African, whether you don't want to use the word African, or Black, or foundational, or African descendant of slave mind. I get it. Or indigenous American, or whatever other identity or delusion you subscribe to. It's okay, we can subscribe to delusions. Because that's a part of the fatigue. And the mind attempts to bring about order and peace. So sometimes we do it in a very delusional way. And what I was going to say is this: how delusional is it? That if I talk to certain brothers and sisters in the community who get this message, and if I was to say that my wife is from Jamaica, they would ask, oh, where you from? They would ask me. I've been accused of not being an American descendant of slave myself. You know what I mean? See, the first question you ask if I have something to say is, where am I from? That is toxic. And where is your wife from? Almost as if the same type of energy I would get if I went to Pan-African circles and I brought a white woman up in there. I expect to get that, but I never expect that when I bring my Jamaican wife or Jamaican African wife to a party that it will be scrutinized. Because of the illness, the delusion that's taking place because of the fatigue that's going on in our culture. My father, as I said, raised me in a Pan-African mentality, so much so that some level it was some romanticization going on. And I also say we need to not romanticize things, because then on the other end we get this. You trying to break my... Go ahead, go.
Can you describe what it looks like to romanticize Pan-Africanism?
Well, it's kind of like what I'm saying is we're going to talk about that today, because we romanticize in so many ways that when I come, I understand I bring some level of struggle, because the romanticization of a thing is when we cannot see the ills that are also a part of our community. And then when we let people into our fold, or we go into their fold, hence Umar Johnson, Tariq Nasheed, and don't hold them accountable, because we have hope that they're going to save us. So the romanticization is when you overlook the pitfalls, when you don't question because they're Black. I'm saying even if they're on the continent, I'm suggesting they'll never, just because you see something on the internet, you must question it. You must critique it. I know people say stupid stuff, like you ain't never asked the white man no question. That is a setup and a gaslighting tactic. Ask the question. Any true leader will be willing to answer the question. And whether or not you like it, you got to deal with it. So the fact that we are being played in social media with AI and all types of things are causing us to be even more tricked. And I'm going to suggest that I love what my brother Traore is doing in Africa, but I'm going to suggest to you, most of us don't know what he's doing in Africa, because a lot of these clips are made up. And there is a necessary critique in any movement that we have, but it is not, I posit, it is there's no need to abandon the thing because you have a critique over it. You critique it so that we can improve. Not critique it so that you can just move on and have no accountability to people. Now, it is idiotic because we so mixed up. I'm talking about mixed up, not just black and white and all this different stuff since slavery. I'm talking about in this society and everywhere. But let me back this up. Every place is not New York City. Every place don't have areas where you got the Puerto Ricans over here and the Dominicans over here. And that. No. In other places, they just become your homeboy and your homegirl. In there too. But then you have people trying to argue from the point that they from New York, and they got people saying two different arguments. Oh yeah, we never went to school with them. Oh no, we didn't deal with them. Oh no, we did with them. So what I'm saying is everybody wants to say crazy stuff, like, and none of it's conflicting. And then the other part that I think what I wanted to say is I lost it. But anyway, did that answer your question?
Yeah, I better understand romanticizing.
To look at Africa in a way that you cannot see it for its fullness.
Yeah.
To romanticize Africa or anything is that you cannot see the completeness of it because there's nowhere that is perfect.
Yeah.
And when you believe something is going to be perfect, then you become disappointed. Almost like I call it splitting. And splitting is a concept in psychology or psychiatry that it means that people can see all good, all bad, or they can't see them both simultaneously. And I am saying I've developed a term called collective splitting. And I am saying that us in this country, we collectively split. We see things in black and white. Just because a person isn't perfect does not mean that you abandon it. But there is a piece where you split on the other hand, where you stay and not hold people accountable, and you never see nothing wrong with them, and they could be raping your mother. Ooh. Pardon. I'm showing you the sickness that's going on in our community, that we too far this way or too far that way, we are out of order. Mayat. We are tired. So our minds are growing tired. So we just want easy solutions. Hence, we have fake leaders coming before us. Hence, Umar, I'll say it again. Hence, Tariq Nasheed, and think they're going to save us. And right in front of our face, what their sisters say, I always love what sisters say. They say they playing in our faces. They playing in your face. And you will let it be, because why would you pull another black man out? We have cultural problems. When you have anything and you lack culture, everything goes. That's why we speak to culture and the essentialness of culture. Because culture means that there are tenets to culture, rules and organizing principles in culture. I will posit that we do this better together than rather than being played against one another. So today today's topic is entitled Challenging the Myth. We're still in our myth series of African-centered thought has never produced, and Pan-Africanism is dead when you shared so much already. We think that things are dead because the white man has not put it on their television network. We think that it's dead because the white society hasn't sanctioned it. We think it's dead because it's not in textbooks. We think it's dead because they don't allow it in their schools. It is very living if it's not in those places. Those places will kill it, strangle it. The problem is we have bought into the ideology that it must get internet views on YouTube. It must be on CNN or you ain't really doing it. The pastor must sanction it. Roland Martin must sanction it. People, the black mainstream, Alpha Delta Kappa Data Psi must, pardon my brothers and sisters, must sanction it. Or it's not relevant. And nobody in their right minds, when you start to compete, when you start to compare the principles of a Pan-Africanist approach or African-centered approach to what we have, in their right mind could say that a Pan-African, African-centered approach is problematic. Because to have a Pan-African approach does not exclude your nationality. Because you can be both and be proud, both and. You can be from the Caribbean. Your parents can be from the Caribbean and you still be African. You can be from the United States or whatever we want to call ourselves here, American. And I say that because, you know, we think that America is just this place here. Brother, Blues, go ahead.
I'm relaying a question from the live. Somebody chimed in and asked, how do those people become leaders anyway? How do we allow those people?
Our sickness allows those people to become leaders because we want to be free. That's nothing sick about wanting to be free, but the way that you think you're going to get there, because it's so heavy, you're in so much hurt, you're in so much pain, you want to just take something, a pill. You just want to believe in things that are not real. And again, that's why we're saying that in our initiates must learn to differentiate from that is real and from what is not real. Because somebody told me, can I just hope? Can I just believe it? Do you have to take it away from me? If it's going to cause problems, we need to talk about these things. And because we're so hurt and we're so rightfully uncomfortable in our conditions, we will almost wage anything or put our heart into anything, especially because these people understand where we are and they know what we want to see, and they will act like they can single-handedly bring it forth. Because they are the magic bullet. And that is the first sign that you are being set up. Because as Amir Cabral says, what does he say? No easy take. How does he say it? No easy, somebody look it up. It's slipping my mind right now. I have the book. No easy. Amir Cabral, look it up. Somebody was about to say something. Mm-hmm. Oh. You got a question? Okay.
Okay, so you spoke on like the Marcus Garveys not Marcus Garvey, my fault. Dr. Umar Johnson and Tariq Nasheed. It's funny because I was having a conversation with one of my friends earlier, because he sent me there's a video some guy was talking about something that Ice Cube said about the current administration. He was talking about like he was basically like sitting on the fence. And this dude was like taking him to task for this and that and the third. But
who was sitting on the fence?
Ice Cube.
Ice Cube was sitting on the fence about what?
About what's going on with Trump.
Okay.
So I guess my question is like, does the over-reliance on celebrities, like trying to like prop them up to be like these civil and political leaders, which they're not, like whether it be basketball play. I mean, now of course there's caveats to it. Some people are more so than others. Like for instance, like I think Tupac was somebody who you could say was like on his way to be like a certain political leader in certain aspects. Now he had his issues, but he also grew up in a Black Panther household, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm saying like people who have not proved that they have the capacity to lead the people in the way that people are propping them up to be.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, like, does that like fall in the same category as like the Umar Johnsons and Tariq Nasheeds?
Absolutely. Because a celebrity culture is what we live in. is part of the delusion and the game that's been played on us. Where again, the more views you get, the more credible you must be. And if you are, they think they have so much more to lose. And then they become puppets, as Malcolm spoke about, entertainers. And again, as you said, you're not speaking about every entertainer, because we gotta be very clear for people who are listening. That doesn't mean everybody, but that does mean a lot. And then when you see entertainers that won't allow space for real thinkers, if you're a real entertainer, bring a real thinker on the platform. Allow your celebrity to give some real thinkers a platform. But your celebrity, because they need to stay relevant, and they need to keep it, they need to stay in those mansions. So whatever they need to do, they will do it. Just like they all starting podcasts, which they believe was beneath them before. Because now they realize that there's some money in this thing, that now they're going to do it because they don't know what they're going to do. They trying to stay in them houses and cars, Brother Carlos.
Yeah, I feel like with those celebrities, like also, I think part of our sickness is also questioning a real thinker and not questioning a celebrity. Like if you question a celebrity, the first thing you hear is like, why you want to bring that black man down? He just doing something. Why you want to, whereas though a true thinker, they're automatically going to have a question. Well, who is he? But just like you said, where is he from? What's his background?
How much money got in his bank account?
Yeah, but they don't challenge those same questions to the celebrity. So that's part of our sickness as well. When a celebrity died, we go through all of this stuff, man. We posting pictures of them and all like that. And your neighbor can pass away. You won't even go offer a case of water to him. You understand what I'm saying? So
because we're caught up in it, and it's nothing wrong with feeling for anybody who passed, but the amount of energy you have vested in someone you never met, and versus your own family. And again, I'm going to go back to this, your own family, because I'm saying on a more, let's say, micro level, your family, or our more global, international level, us as a family. You understand? My family, our Caribbean family, our continental African family. And so again, I'm going to go back. It says, I have here the divide and conquer trap. What is disappointing to me is that many of our comrades who have been in these rooms, it's understandable though, are tired. But it's still disappointing. They're tired, so they've fallen for the very thing that they should know better to tend to fall for, and that's the divide and conquer trap. How do those of us who understand divide and conquer still fall victim to it? Our denigration and fear-based responses are evident, I say. We are operating from a place of fear, wanting to belong, wanting what we believe is our peace, even if we have to denigrate our brothers and sisters in other places. Now, I think we have to have conversations, just like Brother Carlos was talking about CARICOM and the reparations and all those type of things. I think we have to have real conversation of what that looks like, but not denigrating one another in the process. Mama, you gotta get the mic, Mama.
I would also add too that with the options that we as a people have that our ancestors didn't have, it kind of brings out who people really are. Because we can present that we're for the struggle and the victory, but perhaps when placed with different options, that will bring our true nature out of as to what we're really committed to.
Say that one more time for me, Mom.
Okay, I said our ancestors didn't have the types of options that we have today. And I agree with what you said, but I also feel that when presented with different options, that truly brings out who the person really was from the beginning.
So let me say it like this. I agree, but I'll just extend. I think there's always been options. Hence we have field, house, overseer, those who get a little bit more than others. Your rations are better. There's always a place to put the Negro to sell the rest of the Negroes out. You want to lose your rations? So it's just a microcosmic, or it's different times, same old plan. It don't change. The rules of the game of war doesn't change. It just looks different depending on where we are.
May I ask a question as it pertains to Dr. Umar? Because I'm not very, please excuse my ignorance, as I'm not completely aware of maybe how he has changed, I guess, his approach. Or last I had heard, he was raising money for a school. I don't know if that school opened or not, and that may be part of the criticism. But and then I also know he's been more visual on some pop culture things that probably are not really in the empowerment of our people in the visualization, specifically around like some stuff with Drewski and, you know, some pop culture influencers that, you know, I think would be counterproductive to the overall goal of where I think he started from. But I'm not really sure where additional criticisms are coming from, and I'm just asking for clarity.
Well, I don't want to make this about him, but I will say that in general, we have to be able to distinguish between that is real and that what is unreal. We have to be able to, and let me just say this. When I think about my dear brother Umar Johnson, it's not I feel he's a victim of the society. He's a hurt person in what he's unhealed trying to heal. So when unhealed people, and I see this around our community on different levels, are attempting, or people who are less than whole are attempting to do things, many times they cause more damage, especially when they don't have guidance, initiation. I'm talking about real guidance, not people who just become yes men and women for you, and if not, you dispose of them. You have this fight, which is necessary in all families. When I say fight, I'm talking about tension. We like to be comfortable. There's people want to exist in a world where there's no tension. But that is where the relationship is built. That is where great things are built. Me and my wife could not have done none of what we've done if we didn't have some tension. Because that tension together allows things to build. And then you get used to the tension, and you get better at dealing with tension. You get better at building and understand who will be with you. People who don't want tension are not loyal. I think this came out of me. But people who don't want tension are not loyal. They will disappear. They will run and they will lie. They will lie. You won't see them. You ask where people are. Let me tell you something. People don't want to deal with the family in organization, in their family, like their direct family. We don't want to deal with the tension from a Pan-African standpoint, because there are tensions, and the tensions are only natural. There will be people differing in opinion. There will be people saying F that. There will be people with all types of ideas, but that does not mean you give up on your family. And go out and create a fake identity that's not rooted anywhere more than 3 centuries ago. I mean, not centuries. Yeah, centuries.
300 years ago.
Huh?
300 years ago.
Oh, yeah, decades of 10 years. Centuries or what?
100 years.
Yes. So, did anybody get the quote? We got a whole team here.
People who are.
America.
Oh, no. That quote.
All right. Somebody in the chat, give it to me. There's no easy victories. There's no easy victories. And that's what we want. Is that it? No, Amir Kagabro. My phone is dead. I cannot spell it off the top of my head. But yes. Grab my bag as a number. Yes. So I have here, it's not Pan-Africanists that fail. But again, I said the frustration is real. Again, we are not happy where we are, but let's be clear. It's not Pan-Africanism that's failed. What has failed us is the majority's attempt to assimilate into this American system. What has failed us is the majority's attempt to take the easiest path. Again, because it's understandable that you don't want the friction. But the problem is, in a psychological context, that's called a maladaptive way of healing or liberating yourself. We tend on individual levels to want to use drugs or sex our ways out of it or eat our ways out of our stress. Run, hide, isolate. And hence, we follow the path of least resistance. But it's maladaptive because assimilating into this society, this culture, the majority culture will never free us in the long haul. It's instant gratification at the demise of someone else, another brother and sister in the very place we live. Because this system has not been built to take care of people, and definitely not our people. But it's the miseducation that has us believing in the American dream, although many times we're not saying that we believe in the American dream. And some of us are just tired because we say, we built this country. So I built this country, meaning that I want what's mine, even if it's wicked, even if it's killing people, even if it's murderous, even if it's not healthy. Brother Los.
I always find it interesting when people say that we built this country, but we didn't build this country. When I say us as Black people, we didn't build this country off of our dream or our what we wanted in life. We didn't build this country off of our ideals that we had about, our society and our culture. So what we built was even a false thing. We built a false society. Almost like what Carter G. Wilson's saying is like, we learned to accept something that wasn't even ours, and it's not ours. It's not our ideas, it's not our system. This country, even though we're here as Americans or whatever, the ideals are not our ideals. So this is not our country per se. Now I'm not saying physically. I'm just in thought. So I always find it funny when people said it, because I don't think they even go deeper to say, like, is this what we wanted? Is this what the people who were brought here, the people who sacrificed their lives and everything, is this the America? Is this the land that we want as a people? So
yes. Emil Kakabra says, tell no lies, claim no easy victories.
And you know what, really quick?
Can I
Tell no lies, claim no easy victories.
And I pulled it up, and the first line from the excerpt, it says, always bear in mind that people are not fighting for ideas, for things in anyone's head. They're fighting to win material benefits, to live better in peace, to see their lives go forward, to guarantee a future for their children. So they're not even, it's almost like what we're talking about. Like, they're not looking for these things that benefit us culturally or socially or anything like that. It's we get caught up in the celebrity. We get caught up in the things that can mean the most in the society that has been created, like this Eurocentric American society.
Yeah, thank you. Somebody said we built this country. Who provided the hammers and nails? We can extrapolate that, but yeah. So let's look at Pan-Africanism. I'm just going to throw some words out there that define it. There's various ways to define it, but unity, solidarity, and liberation of all African people worldwide. Who could be against that? African, I'm talking about. Black. Go ahead, Brother Fur.
No, I agree. That's the definition of Pan-Africanism that I think of.
Mm-hmm. Political project against colonialism, slavery, imperialism. Cultural, psychological orientation, affirming African identity worldwide. Like, what is your root? You just ignore your root, or you make up one that you are native here in America. And I'm saying there's one who does in their DNA have native. We so much easily accept it, even if we have that little piece, versus the 80% that's in most of us when you do a genetic test.
What you mean when somebody says, "Oh, I'm 1/18th Irish"?
All of that. Anything besides that hurt piece, that piece that has been destroyed in the minds of this society, in the world society, we will be anything but it. We will be anything but African. We'll be anything but Black, anything but African for sure. So much that people who from the continent don't want to be African. But Lewis.
And I think, again, like, we don't think as deep as, we don't go as deep into the thought when we even make those kind of statements or make those thoughts. Like, when you look at it, even people who are native to this land, I mean, you can go back and historically check that a lot of those people also came from the continent hundreds and hundreds of years before. Like, people think when Columbus and these guys came looking for this quote unquote new land, that it was just this an anomaly. Let's go search it. But the history shows that people from the continent had already been here. They were actually following those people. When you go to South America, Brazil, that Black African indigenous people of Brazil were there hundreds and hundreds of years before quote unquote slaves came here. So those people are from Africa. But just like Minister said, people don't want to deal with the hurt thing. They don't want to be the downtrodden part of things. So even if they believe it in their mind, they don't want to say, well, I was a slave. They want to come out of that. And you hear people teaching that all the time. Like, don't think about, slavery. Black people didn't begin with slavery. No one is saying that, but you don't disregard it just because you don't want to feel it.
Yeah, and then I also think that now let's get to the idea of romanticization here. There is a romanticization around even those of us being here in ways before then. And I think that, sometimes we try to usurp everything else too. And sometimes I don't agree with it. I don't agree with the idea to act like there was never like black people were the natives here, and maybe there was some darker people here, but we over exaggerated. Because we over exaggerate. Oh, these are mounds, these are pyramids, and they're not the same pyramids. Come on now. I mean, we do poor. Our critical analysis is often just poor, but because we want to be anything besides black people who've come through what they call the transatlantic slave trade or the Middle Passage or whatever you want to call it, we call the Mayafa that continues still to this day. And when you know you're at war, you only expect that there'll be brothers and sisters in the continent that think poorly of you. You only expect that there'll be brothers and sisters on this particular continent or this United States that think poorly of people other places that look like them. Because the mind is being warred upon. So when you hear these anecdotal foolishness, it's just, you're not gonna make it one word a week. They make no sense in a social science framework. They're anecdotal. Some people saying, well, and I'm saying even my brothers and sisters who know better, that what they're saying now, they're going back to, we don't come from Africa. My grandmother told me I was something Apache or something. Like, okay, what do you mean? We've been taught that forever. We will be anything but black or African. And it's not to say there's none of that there, but it's not there nearly as much as we claim it. Nearly as much as we claim it. Nearly, I wasn't doing the Umar, as much as we claim it. The fact that, I don't have to look at DNA now. Because my grandmama said, what? Anti-intellectual. What's a better record than grandma? What made grandma correct? Grandma could be deluded too, just like you. And you will tell your grandchildren the same damn stupid stuff. Excuse my language. And then they'll be like, Uncle Parrish said we were from, and like, okay, Uncle Parrish said. So, I mean, I'm not saying we can't use some oral things, but we have to be a little bit more complex in the way that we gather data, and not one person saying one thing is enough. And in fact, even if he said that does not mean that your origins aren't from Africa. And I'm not saying I got you, Los. Just when it's time, brother Los, just jump up in there. So I'm not saying that none of that happened. But again, it hasn't happened as nearly as much as we try to. I mean, then you start wearing feathers and stuff. I'm not saying you shouldn't wear feathers. You look good with them feathers too. I'm just saying. You really, okay. I mean, I've been seeing some delusional things. All I'm saying is, you clearly got African origin and you don't want to accept it. Brother Los.
I think it's a both and too. I think a lot of people, I think you're all right. I think a lot of people do romanticize about not being, like I said, a downtrodden. I also look on the other end and say how, again, because we want to be elevated as well, like we're looking to be elevated or have this elevated status. I think we also romanticize about Kemetic and Egyptian thing. Like we force ourselves to be Kemetic or Egyptian because these were great kings and we see the great things. And you can go do a DNA and find out your DNA traces back to West Africa or part of Southern Africa. But I remember we had I forgot who was here speaking that day, but
Malefic need something?
huh?
Dr. Malefic need something?
Yeah. When Asante, I brought it up to him. I'm sorry about that. Again, like we as Black people, we tend to sway towards the popular. So even now, with that being the popular thing, like people saying, what are the letters again? FBA or whatever, or not whatever. I mean, we tend to sway towards what's popular, and again, we discredit those things that, of course, we don't understand, but we don't even choose to even try to figure those things out because they're not the popular thing to talk about or be about that during that part. During this time.
Yeah. So I got here some historical feats. Pan-African Congresses, 1900, 1945. Marcus Garvey, UNIA. Kwame Nkrumah, independence movements. Malcolm X and global solidarity. Kwame Ture, Black Power. The Black Panthers, many of them, programs of health and self-defense, especially our dear brothers and sisters in New York. Afrocentric schools from a cultural Pan-African perspective that still exist today. Because they're not on the front page of the newspaper, because they're not getting all the views on YouTube, don't mean that they're not relevant and that it's dead. Malana Karenga and all his contributions, Dr. Malefic Asante, Marimba Ani, Dr. John Henry Clark, arts and music, spirituality and global culture, community institutions like I have here, everyone's place, in Cobra. When you know that you fighting, the people, we are here. You ain't gonna make the news. You ain't gonna have sellout. You ain't gonna have mega churches because these are the people, and I'm not saying that we don't have our struggles, but there's different levels of delusion. You say true? There's different levels of delusion. And we want to fit in and we want to be where it is safe, or at least it feels safe. But it's a maladaptive form of what you deem is safe. You don't want to be Black because to be Black means that there's going to be some struggle. You don't want to be Black because it means you're not on this American winning team. You don't want to be African for the same reasons. I'm using them interchangeably. Thank you. We talked about the splitting, the all or nothing thinking, the comparison trap. And I also said we have cognitive distortions. That's another psychological term. But again, I'm calling it collective psychological distortions. Eurocentric ideology wages wars on our minds. Again, I spoke about the splitting area. The all or nothing thinking is either all in, all out. I idealize people and then I devalue them, then I discard them. I'm saying we do that collectively, but that is something that you often see in what you call borderline personality disorder. Because I can only see people perfect. Because I know I have a problem with also, I've been through trauma that's unhealed. So I don't see them perfectly or as perfect people, then I can't see them as valuable. So I have to lie to myself and act like I don't see that things about them that I don't like. But the reality is, and we struggle with that on individual and familial levels, most of the people I work with are struggling with that within their romantic relationships, where they have to see the other individual in a positive light, so they overlook the other things, or then they start. That's one side of it. That's the splitting. They got to see them all positive. Then they start seeing the negative parts of them, and they can't stop. And they do this from relationship to relationship, because once you get into that mode that they have, if they're not perfect, then you're going to have to discard them because we have sickness going on due to our trauma. And I'm saying this is a collective thing. We do this with our quote unquote leaders. We do this with our relationships. We do this with all types of people. We are delusional collectively. That doesn't mean that there aren't greater examples. There aren't people that are more stable, that people are more balanced, people that's more within what we call mayat. But there's some disorder there. Again, assimilation and success is a cognitive distortion. We're gonna get what's ours. Like, really? What's yours? We're gonna get what's ours in this country and forget Africa. As if anybody, as Dr. Clark speaks about, is respected that doesn't have a homeland. As if you can compete in the world and not have a home of origin. Dr. John Henry Clark said what? Pan-Africanism or perish. So again, I'm saying we have to remind ourselves what our dear elders, ancestors, intellectual giants, and cultural giants have taught us. And we can challenge them, but I don't think you can really challenge that when you really look at things for what's really going on. In this world, people are connecting to have power. And guess what? They're not thinking about you, African. Even when they allow you to come in, it's still for their own agenda. But you feel so happy because you got a seat at the table. I don't care if that's around the corner at your university or if that's at the UN. I don't care, as Dr. John Henry Clark says, you have no friends. You might find some individuals, as Dr. Amos Wilson talks about, good old white people, good old Asian people, good old whatever. But he says never confuse the individual for the collective. You have no power without your tie to the continent, as Dr. Marimba Ani speaks about. You see, I'm citing because I ain't say this, but I know the people you respect say this. You just ain't read their stuff, or you just selectively took in the information, because that's what we do as well. I'm one of the ones that say, no, you look at that, because we want to look at the easy stuff. We want to just feel good, but there has to be a struggle. Dr. Marimba Ani says there's no serious struggle without us in our relationship and our connection to our mother continent. This country will eat you up and everybody else up in it. And it has, Brother Baba Boo Jamal, go ahead. You look like you had something. Go ahead. I'm going.
No, reading the book on the miseducation of the Negro, I mean, have things really changed since 1933 to 2025? Because I mean, some of what you're putting out there, the same thing that Brother Wilson was talking about or wrote about or experienced.
We still fighting.
Yes,
some
sir.
things have rearranged, but as other scholars have said, like critical race theory, I can't think of my dear Bob, Dr. He calls this interest convergence. His name is skipping me right now. But the lawyer, one of the ones who created critical race theory, talked about interest convergence. You think you got something, and it was nothing more to make you feel like you got something, to make you more obedient, to feel like you're a part of this American dream. We spoke about this American dream last week. Go about. Give the mic, please. Unify. Let me read this real quick before you go. Unify the continent of Africa sounds logical. However, it is illogical, as one can only unify the people, only what? As one can only unify the people of Africa, the land may divide, yet the people must unify. Oh, I'm sorry, I must misunderstood that. Unify the continent of Africa sounds logical. However, it is illogical as one can only unify the people of Africa. The land way divide. I guess what he's saying, or what she's saying, is that the people in the diaspora doesn't matter. That's what I'm assuming, and I think that's something for us to really talk about as well. I have in my notes. You have something too, Mama. You go ahead, then you go. Okay, you think about that, and maybe. What I'm assuming they're saying is that they can only unify the people within Africa, not outside of Africa. And there's a war there. And that is something that we as people in the diaspora, if we're talking about Pan-Africanism, that we do have to speak to. Like even when we talk about our dear brother Ibrahim Traore, we have to realize, really, do you include us? I'm not saying what you saw on the internet and what, like, I've been researching, and it's hard to figure out what is real and what's unreal. So what I'm saying is you have to really, we have to really know what it is. Like, for example, you can say you're Pan-Africanist and not feel like anybody in the diaspora is a part of it. But you also have Pan-Africanists, for the most part, that will include the diaspora. You know, there's been work around that. That's what I'm saying. We can talk about that, and we can understand that there's reasons why people might even think that. Because we have, things that happen. So we got to work this out as a family. Brother Boo. Oh, was you, brother? Okay, go ahead.
It's funny because I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and she's Nigerian. It's like she's Nigerian American, like she was born here, but her family's from Nigeria. So, and we were talking about like the state of like Black Americans. She was like, yo, y'all have done so much, and it's just this and that, the third sheet. And then we started talking about the relation between Black Americans and Native Africans and where the disconnect is. And she was like, I want to have these types of conversations, but I really don't know how to go about.
Who said that again?
Having them. It's a friend of mine's. Name's Mope. She's Nigerian American. And I mean, we were talking about it, and like there was 2 points that I brought up. Like the first point was that we actually have to be open to having a dialogue without chastising each other whenever one side says something that the other side doesn't want to hear.
Absolutely.
And that's what you touched on earlier. And then the second point was I said we cannot have an actual conversation and come up with actual solutions with people that don't understand what's going on.
It's people insecurities. Yeah. And what I mean by that is our insecurities. Let's keep it a buck. I teach in the university, right? And a lot of it's interesting. I taught at this white school. It was interesting. I learned a lot about white people. I'm glad I had the experience. But I also went to the Black school not really prepared for the diversity of the Blackness. But because I'm Pan-African, I'm African-centered. But what I realized even before then, especially, that when you meet a brother and sister from the continent, sometimes they come off strong because there's some insecurity there. What they think you think about them. And on the other hand, we have a similar insecurity. So there becomes this protective defense. Like they believe that you think they are Tarzan or they savages. In the creation, let me just keep this real clear. Africans have people from the bush to city skyscrapers. And the city skyscrapers don't make it any better than the bush. So there's no need to act like we don't have indigenous people still practicing indigenous ways and we should mind our goddamn businesses. I'm talking about white people. I'm not part of them, but I'm talking about those of us who have those white mindsets too. If they want to live in harmony and peace, closer to nature, we need to get out of people's way. There's nothing wrong with that. That is beautiful. That like to act like it doesn't exist is romanticization, and I think it's a negative romanticization. People can live near the earth and be totally okay, and there's parts and aspects of that we are missing. I saw the one that said, Dr. Ausar, can you explain? And I think I was going to touch on that, right? Mama, can you hit that for me? So I was going to touch on, thank you. Dr. Ausar, can you talk about cultural nationalism and its efficacy under the capitalistic system in America? And when I'm hearing cultural nationalism, I want to talk about it. I'm gonna frame it this way. I'm thinking about it from an African-centered perspective, and that's the way I want to frame it from that framework, because that's the framework that I subscribe to. One of the frameworks, and I say cultural nationalism in this. Could you put that back up for me? You can leave that one up, Queen. I'm sorry. I know I'll be like, take them down, but you can put that one back up. You know. So go ahead, Mama. No, that's good right there, Mama. I'll hit it. Once you do that, I think I can control it. It just get it unlocked. Thank you. So I put here in this slide Afrocentrism as social therapy. I would argue that Afrocentrism is an aspect, is a cultural movement. It's an ideology. It's a social theory. I have in my notes here that Dr. Amos Wilson speaks about any people that doesn't have a cultural or a theory or ideology, or people that are that's really operating in the status quo's ideology. We can have all these movements that lack culture, but they lack culture. They got all the technical stuff. They got all they talk about legal stuff. They talk about rights and social justice and all that, but they don't want to talk about culture. And culture is a missing piece, and it is necessary. Whether it is cultural nationalism as from this African American or wherever you are, culture will free you. Culture will put some organization in between people. Culture will tell you how to engage the world, how to see the world, how you must move in the world. So we have to look at culture. But I wanted to jump on my slide here though. Afrocentrism as a social therapy. We cannot underestimate Afrocentrism, because many of the people, even whether or not they say they're African-centered or not, the healers in the communities come from an African-centered perspective. I'm talking about even those who've gone to school. I'm saying some do better than others. But I say that Afrocentrism functions as a cultural therapy and coping strategy. See, we need culture. Culture provides clarity amidst domination and oppression. You need a framework. It reframes trauma into purpose. Afrocentricity, African-centered thought, I'm going to say, as Brother Imhotep has scientific Pan-Africanism, is all as we have here in GIA, they reframe trauma into purpose so that we won't get stuck, and also begin to be re-traumatized over and over again, quite like you see in relationships. Our relationship with this country is quite like individuals' relationship with narcissistic people. It's abusive. I know people talk about Stockholm syndrome, but I think it's even more complex than that. I think it's an abusive relationship. In abusive relationships, you try your best to find a way to change you to meet that person's desires, and you'll never meet their desires. You begin to believe it is you, so you change yourself for a narcissistic person. Quite the same we do collectively. We think if we can get all the Africanists out of us, we can somehow be accepted. Now we know we've been there. We know growing up, we the whole colorism piece and all of that. And I like how somebody put it, colorism is not different than racism. Colorism is racism because it is a symptom of it. It was created by racist ideology that if you don't want to say our oppressors or the oppressor or oppressive people, whatever you want to call it, I don't want to play the games. what I do know is our people are hurting. I know that our people are being played with. I know our people are being exploited. If you don't want to say oppressive, you want to say, "Oh, I'm not a slave. I'm not a slave." I get it. But what I'm saying is, a collective, we are hurting, and you are too. Again, culture aligns. Afrocentrism as a social therapy aligns with a Pan-African political agenda. So the culture aspect is so important because some of us are Pan-African, revolutionary Pan-Africanists. Sometimes we don't understand I'm not saying all, I'm saying many. There's been fights about the importance of culture, how culture is not essential and all that from some of my Pan-African revolutionary brothers and sisters. I'm saying it's a both and again. I'm saying that the political and the cultural have to work together. In fact, they're inseparable. What y'all got? Y'all follow me? Let me see. Culture will put organization in anything. Culture's clarity. All right, that's is cooperation more important than unification at this point? Cooperate first, then move towards unification. You know, I don't know what cooperation means. That scares me. I think sometimes when we say cooperate, we just let anything go. If that's what you mean, no. I think we have to learn how to engage with one another. If we don't have to always cooperate, but we have to learn to be in relationship. And if that's called cooperation, I'll say yes. But cooperation means I blindly turn an eye to people and within my own community that are exploiting me, then no. You can't Africanize every Black American, nor can you Americanize every Black American. So that's fine as well. And guess what? You don't need everybody. You're never gonna get everybody. And many revolutions were the few. We ain't all the same. You're right. I don't talk like that. I'm sorry. We ain't all the same. They not like us. See, that's the thing, right? So we got to be very careful. We ain't all the same. Okay, you're right. What does that mean though? Like you saying okay, that person who put that in the chat, please tell me what that means. That is so. I love you. Let me say that. I was just about to have some fun, but I'm not going to have fun because I understand we have to engage with conversation. Are you saying, okay, I know my wife, because she's Jamaican, and I'm African American, that we are not the same? So, okay, she grew most up to her 15 years of age in Jamaica and came here and lived the rest of her life. So we're not the same. I didn't want her to be me. I love her for who she is. I like every aspect of her, mostly. No. I like what we created together, and we can create together. Brother Fur, what you got?
I hear that part of what you're saying is diversity is important. And another thing that I was hearing that you were saying,
thank you for that, brother,
was that as systems are being created or organizations are being created, the importance of culture is imperative. And I can agree to that, especially as we defined culture last week.
Say it again one more time for me.
I said it. I can agree to that, especially as we defined culture last week and had the cultural conversation.
Yeah. So thank you. Pan-African yesterday is not the Pan-African today. Mama, can you hit that for me again? The Pan-African of yesterday is, you're right. They're different people, same spirit. Different people, same spirit. Please don't judge us on those who will make it to the media, who get the most views and all of that type of thing. But anyway, Pan-African yesterday is not, okay. Let's keep moving. All right, anybody else, Queen, besides people making comments that aren't necessarily things I can understand? Some people say they not like us, that's why. I suggested, go ahead, Mom, you want to read?
That's why they suggested.
Hold on, Mama, do me a favor, take the mic. Yeah, and you might sound better than me reading anyhow. So
All right. The participant says, some people say they not like us. Not I, but that's why I suggested cooperate. Some people find unification a romantic ideology.
I guess, see, to me, as a social scientist, I have to have definitions for terms before I can answer them clearly. So, because I know that if we don't define things, we'll all be meaning something different. So it's not an easy thing for me to kind of respond to, nor do I think things should be that easy. I think we should become critical thinkers. So it sounds like I agree with you. Now, I don't know what you mean by unification though, because sometimes people mean different things by that. I know some people say unification without uniformity and all this type of thing. I mean, so I don't know what you mean by that, so I really can't answer. If you have a definition, I could answer that, but I tried the best I could do at this moment. Anyone else?
You know what I like in terms of like the concept of unification, where delegates from different countries and states and cultures of African people come together and speak about the experiences that they might be having in their geographic location and that their unique things. And then like there's the solidarity of, okay, there's some interchangeable suggestions and ideas, and then there's like the overarching structure of things that could be done within Black people worldwide. But then it's also this commonality of localized problems that can be expressed. I think of that when I think of like unification, like, because to think of us as a monolith, like one united people where we do one things, like, I mean, even if you take the city of Baltimore, like you can't even get different parts of Baltimore to act and do the same things. You know what I mean? Like you can't, it's too big of a complex problem to create a simple solution to. We got to think about things like, okay, allow individuals to be individuals and allow pockets of people to have their cultural differences. And we got to think what the overall benefit to us as a whole is. And then, I also think of the fact that, like, I want to be thoughtful of my words. I also think about the fact that, like, someone from an outside perspective can offer a perspective because they're not dealing with it in the same way. Like, it's kind of like if a friend tells you something's going on in their life, you can offer a perspective because you're not in it, and I think that that's like the beauty of diversity and coming out together and like unification, like being able to help solve each other's problems in a way and then find commonality and differences. Differences are important just as much as commonality.
Absolutely.
I wanted to add the brother's first point, because that was actually what I touched on with the friend that I was talking to the other day. I said, in order for us to really have these conversations and come up with clear solutions, we also have to understand enough about each other's cultures and what we've been through in order to have that necessary, I guess empathy would be the word, to understand, like, okay, I have at least base level knowledge on the history of your people and where they came from and what they've had to deal with. So now we can actually have like a dialogue to come up with some sound solutions throughout that, like pretty much what you said about the diversity. Like, so I think that that's also very imperative on us being able to unify as people of the diaspora, and especially with people from the diaspora being able to unify with people that live on the continent, if that makes sense.
Yeah. One of the things I appreciate about Pan-African thought or African-centered thought even is that it does not only even it appreciates the diversity of Africanity or Africanists, but it also points out the core essence or similar ethos that we have as African people globally. At the core, we are spiritually oriented people, whatever you want to call it, right? At the core, we're familial people. At the core, we're all these different things, right? So it also points out the similarities. Like even for like one of my classes, multicultural multicultural, whatever, counseling or what have you. At the end of the semester, there's one semester, like maybe 2 semesters ago, one of the students' projects was asking people different things like characteristics and traits of their culture. And then when you notice, all the black people ended up, it didn't matter if they were black, African American, Caribbean, black American, or continental African. But the white students actually ended up outside of that circle. And there's only 2 white students in the class. So, and what I'm saying is, so it was very telling. I think we might have some other backgrounds, but not much. But the Africans from the diaspora and continental, and what they really didn't even still understand, there was so much more similar about them. They didn't even think about that. They just did the activity just to kind of have an opener or something. I asked them, what did that activity, what was the purpose? They said, oh, we just trying, to get like an opener. But it was purposeful because it literally showed you that we are more similar than we are different. Yeah. And, so we have similar, as some would argue, that we have one culture in different variations.
I like to speak to what the brother here said earlier too, in regards to some Africans not being aware of our culture. There's a singer recently, I forgot her name, and her album flopped, and it had to deal with her interviewing the Breakfast Club and how she's from South Africa. So color there means something completely different here. So a lot of Black Americans here.
Hey Queen, leave DJ Biggs. I'm sorry, let's take DJ Biggs off. I tell him we love him and we will not respond to him anymore. So go ahead.
Yeah. But where was I? So she did an interview with the Breakfast Club, which offended a lot of Black Americans because color to her meant a different thing than it did here. So a lot of Black people here, that term would be considered offensive because of our history.
What term?
The color.
Okay.
Because in South Africa it means something completely different. It's a caste, different group of people. So by her not responding that way and her trying to appeal to the Black American audience, her album kind of flopped off that. So I feel like that's a small piece of why some Black Americans here want to kind of delineate, because it's like the Africans on the continent, like I have no problem with them, but it's just I can see it from both sides, like how it would be considered disrespectful, but she didn't look at it that way. Like it was like a term of this is my heritage. I don't care how it makes you feel. I'm going to use it anyway. But you're over here appealing to us, trying to come into what we've built, and we're telling you that this is disrespectful to say this, and for your own team not to properly even educate you on the use of that word in itself shows that, well, do you even really care enough about us to really just come into our culture? Like, are you only here just to make money and benefit off of us? Because we make artists here because we're big in the scene, and the only way that you can operate like properly and even succeed is through us, because you can't do it to any other community but us. So I was just using that as an example. That's just one of many different examples.
Of what?
Of some Africans, not all,
but yeah,
that come here and they disrespect. Sometimes it might not even be intentional, but it can be a cultural difference.
Yeah, that's what I'm speaking to.
So
though.
it's a lot of misunderstanding on both sides. But I would like to say, because the brother that got kicked out, he had made a comment earlier. It kind of like slipped my mind because it was about
FBA is a lineage.
Yeah, that right there. So that kind of spawned, in my opinion, kind of out of that, from what I've gathered so far. It could be more to it, but a lot of it's from like the disrespect out there.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, there is more to it, but again, as we started out earlier speaking to, we already, if you're an African-centered or Pan-African person, you kind of understand that ignorance exists. We all have levels of we don't understand things. When we've been raised a certain way, it's a blindness there. Like there's a cultural difference. Like for example, you might be even within the United States. You might be from one town which has a certain culture or way of engaging, where you go to another town where they just aggressive. You will go to another place where they're less aggressive, and both of them think something wrong. But the thing is but if we begin to understand that difference, we will take less offense to it. We have to understand that other like this person, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for us to I hear it like you're coming in our place. Like, yeah, but what do you expect? The person, it's kind of like I'll give you an example. Like it's like I hate when people go to school and they become feminists. Black people, I'm talking about male or female, both who follow the ideology. And then you say the wrong word, and now they're holding you accountable for everything. Oh no, you say he. Like you say he. Like I'm sorry, I'm used to saying he. Pardon me now, but it's okay for you to correct and tell me what you would like, how you would like to be identified as. But please don't bite my neck off, because this is different for me, and this is what we do. We become victims. But it's also essential. I think it's a both and. It's important for them to understand how that impacts people, but it's also important for the person who's receiving it to understand what that person means by it. So people just don't change like that. You can say you've been saying my in all in your life, and now you decide you don't want to use it. It's going to take some time. So what I'm saying is sometimes we want to be victims, and as in my book I have refuse to be traumatized. We as traumatized people who have oppressed people, whoever it is, people who have been done wrong, there's something about being a victim that is very comfortable for us. Dr. Malefe Kiyosante says is a conscious of victimhood, and there's a consciousness of oppression, and then there's a consciousness of victory. And I posit that a victorious mindset is that which will allow you to heal and liberate yourself. When everybody has something to say to you and it hurts you, even though you know that they didn't mean that way, that is more work for us to do. It's not to say you don't say, I don't feel comfortable with that. But it's also important for us to understand, as the Kemetic proverb says, try to understand the heart, because words are confusion. So the thing is, like, we kind of like we you see a young man out the street and he call you, what's up, my Nigger, what up? And you can handle it several ways. You can be overly aggressive and you want to get all in their face and ostracize them, or you can say, brother, I prefer not to be addressed like that. Yeah, I don't necessarily like that. You know what I'm saying? So we don't have to be victims. Going back to the can we go try to understand the heart? Yeah, Queen. We're gonna bring up DJ one more time. Bring that one about Tariq Nasheed. Thank you, Sister Queen. You working it. You got you. Say it again. I couldn't hear you. FBA lineage is not Tariq's idea. Okay, it's Claude Anderson's. Everybody says these things because everyone, what does that say? Crowbar onto BA for financial gain in America, but not here to unify. And so that's what that's what
a comment.
That's what Paris is speaking about. And it says it's a joke. So the reality is this: everyone here is not here to. Everyone is not here to fleecing. I believe that is. I'm kind of far on American culture. Everyone is not. That is a cognitive distortion again, where you believe that everybody, our brothers and sisters from the Caribbean, our brothers and sisters from the continent, our brothers and sisters from South America and everywhere else is here to fleece on us. Are there some? Absolutely. Is everybody? No. But even the some are punch drunk with capitalistic, Eurocentric ideology, or whatever ideology they have. But that does not mean we cannot awaken our brothers and sisters to see things in a more Pan-African sense. And I promise you that who else would you rather now just integrate with white people? Try that one. Try, you ain't integrate successfully enough because you believe you got something and you believe integration happened. But when I drive around Baltimore City, I see the difference. I know what, if you're on York Road, you driving on one side of York Road, it's none of us on that side. If there's one, and on the left side of York Road, if you're going south, it's a whole nother world. I know that if you, even in the law wrong of the societies, they don't want you around them. They will come into your schools and teach you and your children, but never have their children be a part of it. And some of us do that stuff too. So I think that if people aren't there for you, I'm talking about even us. They will go there and get a paycheck, but never put their children in. That's something problematic about that to me. That is problematic. That is the same thing as politicians and police officers not living in the same area they're patrolling. This is called an occupation. You hear it? Occupation. Double entendre. So let's go there. So let's go back to my prop. I'm gonna come back. Let's come back to prop, and we're gonna close this out. So DJ Big. So I don't know what that is. Panhandling, talking about Umar. Let's go past that foolishness. But Tariq Nasheed, it doesn't matter if Tariq Nasheed created it or Claude Anderson created it, Dr. Claude Anderson created it, it doesn't matter. But the ideology, it lacks culture. It talks about who stole from me and look at those Africans over there and look at those, and then you call people names and all this buffoonery. I don't care who created it. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It doesn't serve us whether Jesus created it. And maybe you created Jesus. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter who created it. Let's keep going. What happened? All right. But what I want to say is short-sighted. It's reactionary at best, and it's no problem. I have no problem with us identifying as Africans in America and our uniqueness. And I do think that there's some merit in some of the conversation they have. But on the other side of the conversation, they're just calling people names and they're creating tension that is unnecessary. If they were talking about the real topics and not really creating an idea, they're going to say, well, we're not talking about all Africans or all Jamaicans. They still don't even understand. They still approaching this thing from a Eurocentric American. Go ahead, brother, close. Yeah, they're still approaching from a very Eurocentric approach, which is unhealthy, and it is not cultural, and it is not sustaining for us. It tears us apart.
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the nose. Like when people make statements like that, they don't realize even the people who they're looking at that say certain things about black people in America or vice versa. Like all of those ideas are basically centered on, like you said, a Eurocentric way of thinking. People come from these other countries and come to America. People say, oh, they look down on black Americans or they looked at a certain way. Well, they didn't get that. They didn't just come over and say, oh, there goes some black Americans. They got the idea from white people and Eurocentric people saying, this is how black Americans are. On the vice versa side, if you think about Africans, the first thing we think about is you see people with flies on their face and big bellies and stuff like that. So it's the same thing. It's like no one is willing to take the time to say, hey, let me go and spend some time there and develop my own ideas. When they come here, I mean, they have to get adjusted to what black Americans how black Americans live. But let's be honest with each other. Black Americans aren't living a unique lifestyle. We're living a lifestyle that was perpetuated through colonization and all of these type of things. It's not I'm not saying 100%, but it's not a natural lifestyle. So it's something created anyway.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and I want to say this because I appreciate our dear brother DJ Biggs, or whether that's a brother or sister, I imagine it's a brother, for chiming in. Because again, like I'm saying, like we have to have compassion for people where they are. We have to have empathy. And I have empathy for DJ Biggs and the like. Because the same compassion or understanding I'm asking us to have for our brothers and sisters across the continent, we must have with ourselves. So I understand the frustration. I understand the fear. I just know that it's coming from a place that is unhealthy. So I have, I'm not trying to come for us. I'm one of us, if that's what you want to call it, But what I am saying is, I am not coming from a fear-based mentality. I am not coming from a mentality that other people around the world have not also been duped. I'm coming from the reality that we all been duped. I don't care about your African stories in the African shops. I don't care about your African brothers and sisters, about your stories when you came to America and how Americans treated you, or our Caribbean. I am telling you, all that is sickness. I do care about it where it hurts you, but I don't care to make that example a means or a reason or rationalization for us not uniting or cooperating or unifying, or whatever the word is that we're using, or the words that we're using. None of that is enough, because I understand the game that has been played on us. So I don't care about whether Tariq Nasheed made the thing or not. We have to check him because he is unhealthy. And if you think he's healthy, it just shows you that we're unhealthy. Just like people will still fight me to this day about Umar Johnson. I understand we have a lot of healing and work to do, and it can be frustrating, but I'm up for it.
Can I say one thing?
Mm-hmm.
Media is warfare. All these misperceptions we have of each other,
Yes, sir,
comes from these media outlets that we don't even own. And that goes back to you saying where the real war is, where it's being held is on the mind. And you control media, you control the mind, what we see. And it's not just us, it's global.
It's Dr. Jared Ball said. And people was arguing against him. Sometimes people come and bust your bubble because you want to have hope. And he said that social media is a governmental operation to bring about division or whatever else. I'm saying it horribly, but he's right. Just because we're using it, y'all understand?
And it's free.
It's free. Just because you're using it to put out a message, they sanction and they decide what goes into the algorithm. They can easily decide not to put some of this buffoonery in the algorithm and decide to put that what is liberal. I heard you talking about algorithm. Was that like earlier or yesterday or last week or something? But they decide what goes in the algorithm. And when you are doing serious work, you better also already know that you will not be in the algorithm. Being in the algorithm is having a high place on the plantation. I'm not saying some people haven't snuck by, but that is the exception.
Can I just say, like, I bring this up all the time, and it's exactly what you're saying about the media. But for those people who subscribe to, and listen, I live in America. I'm not saying, oh, I'd rather go here and go there. I have no idea right now where I would go. But I'm just telling you this. If for the people who subscribe to this, why people come here, or why, if they're doing this, why is America, America. There is a reason that this country fights wars to actually keep people's mindset this way. They will, if you come with they fought Marxism, they fought any ism, they're gonna fight against it, because that's the only way, that's how they keep people brain trained to be, oh, America is so great, America is this, that, and other, where they have no option of thinking about how another way, there's another way of living. So when you think about people think the best doctors are here because they practice more and they do this. No, they make more money here. That's it. You know, they just make more money here. There are cures for cancer per se in other parts of the world that America won't even they won't even sanction or say it's good because they haven't found a way to make money off of it yet. So that's all I'm saying. Like when people subscribe to, well, why are they coming to America? Why Caribbean people come here? Why? Because it's money. It's a way of life that they have seen as the promised land. But if you take that same time and go to these other places and you see people living amongst themselves and doing things their way without even that thought, and you get the American way out of your mind, then you will see that these people are living their life as well. They're living their life. If they don't subscribe to the Americanized way of thinking, it's not wrong. They just living how they live. All right. So.
All right. So what we're going to do, we're going to close this one out, family. I appreciate the engagement here today. And I do want to say there's complexity here because some of the things I hear people saying is that Pan-Africanism is saying that everybody go back to Africa. Even Garvey, I heard that earlier. Even Garvey didn't even suggest that everybody has to go back to Africa. So that is just some fuel to upset you as American African. Oh, we ain't going back to Africa. Nor did anyone say that everybody had to go back to Africa. So that is, you know, we have to really have greater understanding. As Dr. Clark reminds us that Pan-African unity is not optional, it is our survival. Without unity, we risk assimilation, domination, and continued fragmentation. In closing, if African-centered thought and Pan-Africanism had not produced, there would be no TNAT, as Brother Paris spoke about. There'll be no Dr. Minister Ausar. There'll be no Everyone's Place. There'll be no PLM, Pan-African Liberation Movement. Let me go back. There'll be no Everyone's Place. These are just some Baltimore examples. There'll be no Tendea, and this is all across the country and all across the world we're talking about. There will be no I Mix What You Like, radio broadcasted. No, there will be no Tendea family. There will be no leaders of a beautiful struggle. We are living evidence, proof of a Pan-African productivity. And when you look at some of the names I named on this list here, there'll be no one in this city that can say that these people aren't making a great impact and more of an impact in this city when it comes to Black people than many other areas, because they stand strong for Blackness. They talk Black, they walk Black, they practice Black, and they are actually making changes in so many ways, in different ways. And with that, family, I say, Revolutionary Garvey Day, Ashe.
Ashe.
Up, you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. All right, family.
We'll close everything out with 7 Harambes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Up high. Harambe, 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 Harambe.
For his goodness and for his wonderful works unto the children of men. If my people will lift my name tonight, I will come in. I will be exalted. I will be glorified. I will be lifted up. Welcome him in tonight. Can't you feel that? Yes, yes. There is liberty. Open your heart tonight. Welcome him in. Put them hands together. Fellowship, joy and peace
All praise to the all-I-seeing, supreme being, giver of joy and peace, love, supreme freedom. See them in the sun, see them in the daughters, the mountains, the waters, all divine order. The king unseen, one dream that I had. I was talking to my dad, he said things ain't as bad as they seem. Was this a God?